we were over here going, what the hell is PB2? So
I thought it was an American thing.
yeah, it is an American thing.
Yeah, there are a couple of other names for it, but it's basically dehydrated powdered peanut butter.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest application of it that you'll find, like if you go looking for it to buy it, is you'll find it sort of in like the health food or the fitness sections of different stores or sites.
Concentrated protein.
People use it to make. Yeah, they make smoothies out of it.
Yep.
So it's like you can make a protein shake out of it. I mean, it tastes like peanut butter. Of course, it's got the protein in it.
Has it been defatted or?
That's a good question. I actually got a container of it sitting on the table behind me right here, so let's find out.
He keeps his PB2 next to him.
Yeah, my wife is really, really cool. She lets me take over the house with the fermentation project. So she's waiting for the day I move the hell out and get this stuff into a commercial stage.
She'll be like dancing.
She'll be waiting a little bit longer. It says 85% less fat and calories than traditional peanut butter. It's it's a 16-ounce container. It says it's got 37 servings, and it only has 1.5 grams of fat per serving. So it's essentially got 16 ounces is about 48 grams of fat.
I bet that's the byproduct after they take out the peanut oil, right?
Probably, yeah. I mean, if you it's.
And they found you
I
suckers.
couldn't think of how else you'd be able to dry it.
Yeah, well, what it is that they made the peanut oil and they're like, we got all this like excess peanut powder. What the hell do we do with this shit? I know. Let's get those guys that work out to buy it. They're idiots. They'll buy it. Yeah, because that's the same thing that happened to get us to buy soy oil, and because we're like, yeah, healthy,
and you
sure, we'll buy that.
Vegemite.
Yeah, Vegemite's nasty. I'm sorry.
Oh, I've never been to Australia. I have no roots to it at all. I love Vegemite. I think it's great.
Do you? I don't. Yeah.
Bread and butter with it, and you toast that bread up, throw some butter and Vegemite on it. That's awesome.
Well, I think Hamish needs to make like a Vegemite mead, and just.
Oh
boy.
Yeah, that's starting to put the boundaries. I mean, I might take a gallon and see what would happen with it, but I wouldn't bet hard on that.
Yeah.
Well,
he could do a fairy bread mead,
through lots of buttery esters, I reckon.
Yeah,
you could
probably
because it's spent brewer's yeast in part, so you certainly would have some very interesting contributions there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the PB2 with the Bochet local wildflower honey, peanut butter and jelly, total happy accident. No way we could have expected that because we didn't really know anything about the honey. And whether we Bochet it or left it on its own, it had that, like I said, initial rose petal, which was really cool, when it first started. But it just really kind of stuck around as a real solid kind of purple fruit, essence to it. So, that was worthy of the peanut butter. But otherwise on the Bochet front, not wildly commercially available just yet. A few places have done it from what I've seen. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if people are finding that the extra effort is not all that worth it, or to caramelize.
I was going to ask.
Caramelizing honey in large quantities would be technically challenging.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah. How are you caramelizing the honey? What are you using?
So, I mean, because I'm a home brewer as well, I've got a couple of big stock pots that I use, for my boil kettle. Excuse me a second. So technically, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I haven't done anything with any large quantity yet, but I've thought about this. I've thought about, okay, say if I wanted to create a 50-gallon batch of this, I usually don't do 100% caramelized honey. I'll usually do like a 70-30 split, 70% caramelized and 30% not. I also don't caramelize it for very long. I know there are people out there that go nuts and will caramelize in a crock pot all night, and get it pretty damn caramelized, or they'll do a rolling boil for 45 minutes to an hour. I don't want it to taste burnt. That's just me. It's not a flavor that I genuinely like, and it just also feels like it's you're potentially risking honey, and honey's freaking expensive. It's not. Yeah. To me, I don't want to take that risk. So most of the time, the longest I've caramelized it for was 30 minutes. So if I'm going to do 70%, so say I'm going to do a full strength dessert Bochet, and I'm going to do 50 gallons of it. I'm going to need 150, 160 pounds of honey. So if I do 70% of that, yeah, that's quite a bit. It's
right.
without a doubt, a bit of a struggle to do that, because you can't do it all at once, because you'd need a huge pot, because honey, like if you're going to cook sugar for candy, it expands quite, and foams.
So you find you get enough caramelization flavor by just going a little bit, not going all the way to dark honey.
Yeah, and I definitely do. Like with the dark, I think I've got the Moreland dark wildflower honey from Dutch Gold was one of the ones I did recently, and I think I did that for 20 minutes. And it's noticeably darker even after 20 minutes. And I'm carefully taking small samples of it and letting it cool and tasting it along the way to kind of feel where it is. And it's caramelized. I mean, it tastes different for sure. I don't know. The longest I ever did was 30 minutes, and I felt like it was burnt. It was orange blossom honey, and it tasted like burnt oranges, and that doesn't even sound good.
Uh-uh.
You say it, and you're like, no, that's kind of gross.
No, that's the color of crushed velvet.
Yeah. So I think, all power to people that want to go a lot longer with the bochet. Because again, in the strict sense, it's, if I understand it correctly, bochet is French for burnt. So, but do you really want to burn the honey? Because if you do, I think a couple things are going to happen. One, you're going to be stuck with burnt honey, and two, it's probably going to take a long time for that to mellow out to a point where you've got a nicely balanced, pleasant drink. And to me, again, I'm looking at, like, I just want some caramelization. I want it to not be the same honey as it was 20 or 30 minutes at the most later, where by the time I'm done, I actually get a caramelization profile to the finished product. I don't feel like I need to go farther than that, but that's where my aspirations kind of stop. If there are people out there that they have a recipe in their mind and they really want burnt honey for some reason, yeah, you're probably going to have to cook it for 45 minutes or 60 minutes to be able to get that. I've not had one that was cooked that long before. I've never had anyone share one with me that they expressly told me that they'd caramelized it for that long. So I don't actually know what it would taste like. I'm assuming I know what it would taste like. I probably could be wrong. It could be significantly more interesting, but it's, once you get to that point, you're starting to taste a little bit of burnt flavor in it. Like I just want to turn it off and get it off the heat. It just feels to me like, okay, that's the right place for it to be. So
yeah, in my limited experience, when it does get burned, you tend to get a bit of acrid taste on the back palate. That just you've really got to keep it to a minimum. It just it tastes like a little bit of charcoal kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess again, people have different tastes, most certainly. So I again don't want anybody who listens to this to ultimately think that I'm taking them down for going with the burnt honey. But you definitely have to like it. Like, if you're going to do that, you definitely have to like it. Because, like I said, the first one that I did that I went too far with it, even in the finished product a year later, it tastes too burnt to me. And I think about all the mead that I've made, not necessarily an attribute that I'm looking for. Because on the flip side of it, it's actually an attribute that if it's too forward, it actually could be mistaken for a fermentation flaw. Because you can get burnt, acrid flavors from an out-of-control fermentation or an underfed fermentation. So there's certainly a reason not to take it that far, especially if you're looking for any critical evaluation of it, because people might get confused about where it came from. They might think not only did you caramelize the honey, but then you also had a runaway fermentation that added all the burnt flavors, because maybe they don't assume that you would have intentionally burnt the honey. So... But I've been as low as 12 minutes. You get it rolling, set the watch for 12 minutes. I did that on a clover honey, and it's beautiful. It caramelized, but it still retains a lot of its original character. It just amped a little bit of it up, and some of the cooked sugar. And I've complemented the clover honey attributes. So.
We're adding a caller to the show. Hi, caller. What's your name and where are you from?
This is Matt from Minneapolis.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Good. My pet project is Boucher's when it comes to meads, and I've really enjoyed the show, so I felt like I wanted to call in, my 2 cents, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, by all means, we're happy to have you.
Well, basically everything Jason said is right on point. It's the key is not to come up with some of those acrid flavors for Boucher's and basically layer the flavors as much as you can on the caramelization side. There's a recipe back from, I don't know, 1393 that basically burns the honey, and that's just kind of crap. But in the same token, it's one of those deals where you want to make sure that you layer the flavors and don't overburn the honey. And then there's so many different things you can do with the Boucher from there, in terms of adding different flavors, etc. So I guess I just wanted to echo what Jason's saying, and it's really been a great show. I love the fact that I met Jason at the Mazer Cup. I have, one question for him is, since now that he's going pro, is he going to be entering in the Pro Mazer Cup? Because as a home mead maker, I would appreciate if he was not in the portion of it.
Dude, leave some medals for other people.
Yeah, I unfortunately have a reputation for that sometimes. I've never run the table at the Mazer Cup, though. So I mean, let's be fair. I've only won there twice before, so it's not like but I do have a reputation for winning at other competitions. I just actually won 9 of 12 medals at a local homebrew competition.
Oh, God.
So they gave out 12 for the meads, and I won 9 out of them. So people are like, all right, are you done yet? Is this...
Can you just stop?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Well, so thankfully for me, I do get to enter the home competition next year again because I still have a lot of homemade meads. I won't be ready to enter the commercial competition next year, but definitely in 2018, because by that point I probably will have gotten, opened. That's where all of my projects will be coming from, and I at that point I probably wouldn't enter the home competition, even if I had something that was 2 years old and wouldn't want to do. I'd focus my effort on the commercial. So you guys are probably stuck with me for one more year.
Right. Okay, great. Jason, thanks. Now I know 2018 will maybe be
is your year, yeah. And that's the thing. Once they go pro, then they can't keep playing in the sandbox with us home mead makers,
Right. So that's really what I wanted to nail him down on here for this call. I mean, I appreciate the Boucher talk because of course I love Bouchers, but in the same token, I do appreciate.
Well, yeah,
so 2018 will be
the
there
year. Now, don't you? You've got it all over the Got Mead live world. People are now like, oh man, he's still entering again next year. Damn it! Wow, you guys are tough. Matt, it was awesome to talk to you again.
Absolutely. We'll see you at the Mazer Cup here in March.
Absolutely. See you then.
All right, Matt. We'll see you there.
Oh, always a hoot.
Matt's a good guy.
Yeah, he is, and he's won a few medals himself, including a couple competitions I've yet to actually succeed at. So we'll see how this year goes. He may have actually, I don't know, he may have jinxed me or may have jinxed himself. You never know what happens. So we'll see. So what else can we talk about Boucher or other topics? Who's got other questions?
Well, I was going to ask you, since you've played with Bouchers enough, have you had the lovely experience of take your eyes off it for a second and there it goes? We were talking with, I forget who it was, and we were talking Bouchers, and we were talking about how basically the honey goes from 1 gallon to 5 gallons, and you're like, wait, what? As it's boiling. So
yeah, I definitely have. I mean, the largest one that I ever did, I did in my 15-gallon kettle, so that takes a little work for it to get there, because it was probably only, I say only, it was probably 15 or 17 pounds of honey in there. If I'm at like 10 or less, I've got an 8-gallon kettle, and I'm watching it. I'm watching it all the time. It just because people.
It's
are
like beer.
Right.
You have to watch it.
Well, It's like making caramel. I think that's what we were mentioning.
Yeah.
That if you've ever made a lot of caramel,